What up?
Hello.
Dude, my voice is all fucked. Okay. Let me tell you a story. Are your ears open?
I'm prepared.
It's like I need to hear that you want to hear a story. Okay, so 9 years ago, I worked at the best medical school. Like I worked on the food court, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that was okay. This is a weird ass story. Okay, so I worked at this one like kind of fast food kind of place for years, and I don't know, I felt like I could only function there. It's kind of weird. And then I left a couple times, but then I kept coming back. So I left for like a year, and then I went back. And when I went back, I was there like a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the owner was like, hey, and I was a manager there, and the owner was like, hey, I'm opening this other thing. Like, it's not the same thing. I'm opening a different kind of thing at the medical school. Do you want to be the GM? And the thing is, when he pulled me aside to offer me essentially a promotion, I thought he was going to like give me a talking to. He's always really nice and respectful, but that day, this is so dumb.
You were getting some vibe?
No, dude, that day I got a phone call at work. I think it was from you that was like, hey, this other job you applied to wants to give you an interview. So I talked to my manager, and I was like, hey, can I get this one day off because I want to go on a job interview? I think I'd been back like a month. Like, I was such a fuck up. And she's so sweet, and she was just like, yeah, that's fine. And then the owner shows up, right? Like 5 minutes later, and he's like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, oh shit. He's gonna be the voice of reason. He's gonna be like, I just gave you this job back, you son of a bitch. Right? So he pulls me aside, and he's just like, do you want to be a GM? And I was like, all right, this is some magic. I was just trying to move on up, and here we are moving on up. Okay, but that's not really the point of the story. So,
do go on.
well, okay, so before I go back to this job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of in this limbo stage. I have this other job. It's kind of a chaos. I'm not really going to go into it. But because I have this chaos other job, I don't really work. Not by choice. I don't know. It's I can't even explain it. It sounds too dramatic, so I don't even try. So I have this other job that I'm not really working, so I have all this free time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty much up all night, every night, because I don't have to go to work in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to work in the morning, and then the owner to that job is like hiding out from the cops, and she won't let me come into work. I mean, that's really the story. I kind of knew it at the time, but I was also being really naive and just like, why would anybody freaking break the law all the time and be hiding from the cops? Anyway, let me take a sip. My throat is fucked. Okay, where the fuck am I? This has gotten... Okay, so I'm up all night all the time. And one day, I'm on the train, and I'm coming back from the train. Like, I'm on the train, I'm coming back home to the suburbs. I get off the train, I'm walking by, and this guy had just gotten off the train. And long story short, me and this guy end up hanging out. This is like a month before I met you. For like 4 nights straight. Like, not 24 hours, but like, we just... like hang out at night, and we'd hang out all fucking night, right? It was completely platonic. There was nothing, I'm not even gonna imply what wasn't going on. Nothing was going on. It was just, I don't know, we're just being just random ass night people. So the day I meet this guy, we're hanging out, and he's naming all this random shit that's like going on in my life. He's naming it about him. I'm like, my what is that, like your spider senses or your sixth sense or whatever, my internal whatever, all the flags are going off. I'm like, dude, is this guy like, how is he naming all the shit in his life that's completely parallel to mine? Like, it felt like way too familiar.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't add up how much we had in common. So, and it was like, I would just say something and then he would kind of like jump in and know more. I'm like, dude, this is too weird. Okay? Like, he even saw my Mark Merchant tattoo that was just like an outline of a fish and was like, and then he said something like, and I didn't say Mark Merchant. His ass said Mark Merchant. I'm like, he like said that he had a Mark Merchant, like a piece of art by Mark. I was like, dude, this is like, he was in everything. Like, an hour straight of him essentially talking about my life through his, it was very creepy. And I was like, this cannot be safe.
Okay, so where did this go?
I know. I have to explain this nonsense. No, I don't. Okay, let me take another sip. All right, so we're hanging out, and somehow, I don't know if he brings up Crime Think or I bring up Crime Think. Maybe he brought it up. Okay, it doesn't matter. Somebody brought it up, and he says, have you read this one Crime Think book? And I was like, oh, no, I haven't. He's like, I have it in storage in Dallas. Let me find it, and I'll give it to you. I think you'd like it, right? So that was just words, right? That was just thoughts and intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we hang out 4 days, and then we don't hang out anymore. Like, he just disappears, the end. We're no longer friends. Or we're not enemies. It's just, it dissolved, right? The connection dissolved. Whatever the fuck that was, it ran its course. So a month later, I meet you, and then, like, somewhere after meeting you, I go back to that job where I feel like I can only work there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at that job, and then he gives me the promotion, and now I have to work at the medical school.
Mm-hmm.
The medical school is like a 2-hour commute, like taking, walk to the train.
I remember it was pretty crazy.
Get on the train.
Yeah.
Take it to downtown.
Spending your life in public transportation.
Wait 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Get on the bus. Go through the most sketchiest part of town. And hello, now you're at a fancy medical school. Okay. So, and by the way, I was a very shitty general manager of this place, and not by choice. Well, I guess it was by choice because I could have done better. I just didn't know. I just didn't do a good job, and I regret that. I really wish I did better. Okay.
Do go on.
So I have this 2-hour commute, one way, 4-hour commute.
Mm-hmm.
See, how can you be a good worker when you have 4 hours that you're not getting paid for? Okay. Actually, I was getting overpaid and not showing up enough, but all right. So I have this 4-hour commute, and I just read every day on the train.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, this is maybe like a couple months after that guy disappeared, and I didn't give a fuck. I had you. I had everything I needed. Okay, so one day I'm in downtown, far away from the suburbs, and guess who rolls out of the train, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing on the platform. Who rolls out of the train? Homeboy rolls out of the train. I'm like, dude, 1 in a million. This is crazy. I just assumed I would never see you again. And this was the only time I've ever seen him since. He rolls out of the train. He hands me the book that he pulled out of storage for me, this Crime Think book, and was like, I got this for you. And disappears, and I've never seen him since I was like 9 years ago, right? Okay. So I'm on this commute every day, and now I have this book. Let me tell you about this book. This book is all about this guy, and maybe it's true. Maybe he've added some fantasy. It sounds true. Or written through the eyes of a romantic homeless person. Okay.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So the guy writes this book, and the book is about him living, I don't know, a couple years without money, right? And just doing like shenanigans and like stealing food and living on boats and breaking into schools and sleeping under, like, just, it's random, like, rebellious bullshit. So I'm feeling the heat of the man because I work at this like a fancy school, and I don't know, I'm just feeling like all the pressure I've ever put on myself to, like, I don't know, how do you say it? Like, to lean into all the rebellious shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that mental pressure of like, fuck everything, like go act a fool, right? I put it in my head, and I was reading this book, and the guy's just acting. He's in his own world, and I'm feeling like, yes, preach, right? I'm way into this book. So I'm on the train, I'm reading this book every day, I'm going to work, I'm like, fuck this job. And one day I'm on the bus. Oh, but while I'm reading this book, in my head I'm thinking, like, I just turn into the main character. Like, this is gonna be me. Like, I'm going to run around and act a fool. And so I have this fantasy that I'm going to do this. I'm going to fulfill this vision that the book is... Dude, I'm the biggest sucker ever. It's like I can read anything and all of a sudden feel like this is the new life plan and I'm going to go fulfill this fantasy. Okay. I'm on the bus and I'm reading the book and I'm like, I need to figure out how to get out of my life. Not without you. With you. Me and you. How can I get me and you onto another train track of life? I just met you. I knew you like a month. You weren't into any of that kind of shit. You're like, I'm on the right train track. I like a roof. I like a fridge full of food. Like, I don't like any of this. Okay. So I look over. I look over my book, right? What do I see? I see two, it's like, I don't know, 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning in the shitty part of town.
Mm-hmm.
I see two kids, like that, like early 20s maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like late 20s at this point. I look over, I see them, and they look like the main characters in my book. I'm like, oh shit, right? This is what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh man, they're riding the wave. They're living the dream. I don't know how. They start talking to me.
Really?
I mean, who knows? Who knows all the subconscious body language, all the winking, right? Waving my arms, flailing, right? Call me, right? Who knows what I was doing? But in my mind, they magically decided to talk to me. Well, when they opened their mouth, it was really clear they were on heroin. They were definitely, like, I don't know how you describe that speech. I guess I don't really need to go into the heroin body language and communication style. But they were really cool. Like, it was just like a young guy and girl. Well, I wasn't guessing they were on heroin. Like, the girl was like, my parents don't like him, and I'm not going to get into that. Okay. So that's not the point of the story. Doctor. So they're telling me that they live. The girl's like, yeah, we squat in this building. And the boyfriend's like, no, don't say what building. And she's like, I'll just be vague. And he's like, yeah, right? And then they tell me that they live in this historical building. I'm like, dude, I'm in this historical school. I'm like, I'm picturing the school. I know where you're talking about. I go sit on the steps right now in my mind. I know where you're talking about. Isn't that? You need to do better with this. So they're telling me this story of how they like squat there with a bunch of homeless people, and that the cops will bust in, and they have like with drug dogs and shit, and they will sneak up to the spot where the police can't get them or whatever. At least in the story, they were heroes. Who knows? I mean, they were on the bus at 7 in the morning. They were clearly not sleeping. So
where's this going?
Well, this actually had a whole different story. This story had nothing to do with the book, the guy. This story actually had to do with the school, which I've pretty much not talked about.
Dr. Tangent.
Do you... Well, let's save that one for another time. That's a kind of a silly-ass story. Okay. I'll give you a hint. And by hint, I'll give you a heroine, a vague heroine painting a picture, but I really told you the whole story while thinking I'm not telling you any of the story. The story has to do with one of the guys who like ran the like there was I think there was multiple food courts. Like I think I was on one food court, and then I think they had like a full cafeteria or like a restaurant kind of thing. Like we were in the janky, like the old school wing. I think there was like a prestigious wing in this school that I knew nothing about. The first day I was there, this guy in a suit with a power walk and a mustache, who was really short and had like this charming smile. I was like, all right, charm is a red flag. Who the fuck are you, right? This is what I'm thinking and feeling. Subconsciously, I was kind of not interested in reading my subconscious back then. Anyway, I was like, he's smiling. He's a good guy. Okay, so he rolls up on foot because he's the power walk. He rolls up, and our little food thing hadn't opened yet. They were still building it out. So he rolls up, and he introduces himself, and he's like, hey, let me give you a tour. And I was like, this is totally weird. Like, I don't know. So he power walks through all the like the little back hallways or whatever, and we get to a garage, and now we're both in his car. This is a stranger. I've never met this man. He could be he could even not work there. I mean, how do I know this guy really works there? This is why I'm telling you, never read the subconscious, only going with the smiles. So we're in his car, his fancy ass like SUV, and he like, am I making this up? Am I dreaming half of this? I'm like, I haven't thought about this in a long, like 10 years. So I'm like, wait, am I remembering this right? We'll just go with how I'm remembering it right now. So we get in his fancy SUV, and he takes us to this other part of, like, this other area. We get out, and we go through this back way, and we're walking, and he's, like, giving me a tour through, like, this fancy part of the college that's, like the culinary part. It looks really crazy, like a really fancy, kitchen setup or whatever, and there's like all these chefs like prepping shit, and we're walking by, and everybody's given this look like, I don't even want to describe the look like they think he's up to something, and I'm like, why are you looking like we're up to if he's up to something, I'm not up to nothing. Okay, so we're walking through, and then that was that and then he gave me a ride back, and then that there was really no story. I don't know why I'm even going there. And then, like, I don't know, like 3 months later, he gets fired, right? It turns out he does work there. He is like one of the higher ups in the our area. I guess he runs both areas. He gets fired. This is a grown ass man with a wife. He gets fired for getting like one of the chicks pregnant, like some youthful, like homeless girl that works there, pregnant. I don't know. And that was the story I wanted to tell. Where does all this go? It doesn't go anywhere. What do you get to do with it? You get to just sit and think about it. Good luck. That's my life. Peace.